Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Lightning Speed Racing Le Mans Ultimate Season 3. It is round 5 here at Spa-Francorchamps. We have a 90-minute race just up ahead for you today, and this is going to be a fantastic one. As you can see here, as we are rounding out the final minutes of practice, it is very wet out there here in Stavelot, Belgium. So we can see the Cadillac here of Antoine Poncet going ahead and just getting his way through the bus stop chicane, making his way to the line. But it is treacherous out there right now. If you know anything about Spa, you know that weather is always a consistent threat. So it's going to be tricky for these drivers. We're going to see a few spins more than likely, but it should still be a fantastic race to go ahead and kick everything off. Once again, welcome back, everybody. My name is Patrick Coleman, aka Rekis. I'll be your host and commentator for the 90 minutes of Spa-Francorchamps here today, and it is going to be a fantastic race here today. Spa is such a beautiful racing circuit. I mean, there's almost no better circuit on planet Earth, honestly, because Spa is just one of the best. You get a good amount of everything. You get high speeds, you get torrential weather, you get some good corners, some good battles, some good overtakes, and honestly, I am just really looking forward to seeing how this one all pans out. It is going to be a tough race here today. Let's go ahead and talk about it as practice goes ahead and wraps on up. We're going to talk about the circuit here. 19 corners around the circuit, 4.352 miles, 7.004 kilometers around here. The longest straight is just after Air Rouge and Radion. It is 1,060 meters roughly between turn 4 all the way down into turn 5. And even then, there is a perfect straight patch that's about under half a mile in that same area. So, first time watching, you don't know what to expect. Well, first of all, welcome, and thank you so much for tuning on in. Hopefully you do enjoy your time here. Well, one thing that you can definitely expect is you can expect some hard racing here today. You can also expect a lot of weather, because weather is definitely a massive factor in today's race. It's supposed to be wet in this similar condition throughout the entirety of the 90 minutes. So you'll definitely see some hard racing, tricky conditions, and probably a spin out or two, I would imagine. Just because it is a very slippery track out here in Spa. So that is a practice done and dusted. Now we're going to jump into qualifying. 15 minutes of qualifying before, or actually, correction, half an hour of qualifying. So we'll see how this one goes. It's going to be a bit tricky, but I think it is indeed very manageable for these drivers. So we're going to go ahead and let these cars get out on track. So we do have quite a few cars. We have a Corvette already out on circuit. So that is Maxwell Amerlan, which I might have mispronounced that. I do apologize if I do mispronounce any of these names. If you are a friend or family member of any of the drivers whose names I mispronounce, so you can just feel free to go ahead and drop them into the chat, and I will do my best to go ahead and try to pronounce it correctly. I will make an effort. I won't be perfect, but I will give it the old college try. But yes, I 100% agree that weather, you say weather could change everything. I think it will change a lot of things. I mean, we already have had some really chaotic moments here this season. Most recently at Le Mans, we had probably one of the closest race finishes I have ever seen at the Circuit de la Sarthe, with Waltersdorfer winning in the Silta Fraschini for the first time in LSR history. Actually, I think it is the first time a boutique manufacturer has won a race, and it got the most points out of it too. So that is a fantastic result for the Silta Fraschini. But so pretty much how it goes here in LSR is that The hypercars will not be going out for the first 15 minutes or so. The GT3 cars will go ahead and go out, get their qualifying runs done and dusted, and then we will switch over to the hypercars for their qualifying session. And you can even just see, this is Ken Scott that we are currently on board with, and he is just being so tentative out of pit exit. So we'll have to see how this one all plays out here. 14 GT3 cars on the field tonight, and we do have some very talented drivers here. I mean, we saw some really strong performances from a lot of these guys last week. Francisco Chavez did really strong in that Corvette. And yeah, it's honestly going to be a lot of fun. And just looking at the chat here real quick, you have a very valid point. The only thing I will say about this, though, is as far as I've seen from the forecast, it's not supposed to get dry at any point. But adapting is definitely going to be a key to this race. But that is also a very valid point, too, is if this track does dry up, then you got to really just kind of do the math of like, okay, how many laps should I push it before I really get onto the dry tires? Or you just got to make sure you don't get onto those dry tires too early. But once again, I don't think that's going to be a problem here, because I think it is expected to be dry for pretty much the entirety of the session. So I think this is going to be a interesting one, to say the least, but it's always an interesting time here at Lightning Speed Racing. It's always a ton of fun, and honestly, I'm glad to be back for another race here. So you can even just see that even though it is a pretty bright track out here at the moment, it is still very wet, and as I'm getting even more confirmation that it is expected to stay wet, so drivers are definitely going to have to go ahead and continue to just kind of navigate this track. There's a lot of the painted runoff, which can be very slippery here, so you're definitely going to want to just be careful is the big thing. You got to be careful. You got to be fast. You don't want to, it's a fine line you got to really walk here. You have to walk that line of being quick, but also not pushing too hard to where you spin your car out. So, because honestly, it just takes one moment to kind of ruin your qualifying. And also not to mention that Spa, outside of Le Mans, has the longest outlap on the calendar. So you're going to be in a really tricky situation if you do mess up your lap here, because to get another outlap, it does take quite a while. It is a 7-kilometer long circuit. So Maxwell Amerland is going to go ahead and start setting purple sectors. He is the first car out on track. And this track is expected to just get wetter. So normally in this situation, you would think like, okay, maybe if I wait it out, the track is going to dry out a bit. That is a pretty big, I mean, that's a reasonable thing to think about, because that does happen more often than not. But that is a misconception here today, because it is expected to get wetter as the weekend goes on. And so we'll just have to see how this one plays out. I'm actually really curious about how the traffic management is going to be, because traffic management is probably one of the most important skills in multi-class racing that you can master. Just because of the fact that it is, I mean, traffic can either make or break your race, honestly. I mean, we saw it a few times at Le Mans where a traffic car helped someone or really just wrecked someone's race. So there's so much to think about here in this race here today. We're going to see Maxwell Amerland going to be the first car to go ahead and jump across the line. What is his time going to go ahead and be? He is going to go ahead and take the first time here, and it is a 2:34 to go ahead and kick things off here. So a 2:34, and Charles Leclerc gets up ahead. It is a 2:33 for the Ferrari. He wrecked in Baku and decided just to come to Spa, pulling a bit of a Max Verstappen there to go ahead and give his hand at endurance racing. Although I am 99% sure that that isn't Charles Leclerc, although it'd be really awesome if it was. But indeed, we do have some time still flowing through it. Leandro Joker, or Yecker, as I've been told his name is actually pronounced. He had a pretty rough time in Le Mans, so he is back now, ready to get retribution for not having a great race last week. So he is going to go ahead and sit in P3 or P2 at the moment. Quite a few cars still coming across the line. Ken Scott was so tentative coming out of the pits earlier, so there's a few of these drivers kind of struggling to find grip in these cars, so we'll just have to see if they can go ahead and continue to manage here. I mean, it's about 6 seconds slower coming out of the second sector, so I think he's just going to have to go ahead and gear up and give it another go. Just up the road ahead, Ricardo Silva is going to go ahead and try to put the foot to the floor and try to go ahead and come across the line, try to get a time on the board. It's not going to be the fastest time, but there's still a good amount of qualifying left for these GT3s, so Ricardo Silva is going to go ahead and jump into 9th. He'll be 9th on the track at the moment, so a few drivers still going ahead and giving it a go. Jack Perry just behind in the Lamborghini Huracan is going to go ahead. He's going to get a bit of a tow from one of the Corvettes on circuit. I believe that is Chavez, I would like to say. Nope, that is not Chavez. That is Emerland. So he's getting a bit of a tow and also a bit of a spray bath here from Emerland here. So interesting. We'll see how this plays out for these drivers. Jack Perry is on the out lap though, so we'll just have to kind of keep an eye on things as this session progresses. Now, normally, with all my experience in commentating, I would say that, oh, there's a bit of a snap. We knew that was going to happen sooner or later to somebody. But you would think that normally it would be a case of, well, this track's surely going to dry out at some point because look how bright it is. In this case, I do not believe that is going to be the case. I think this track is pretty much, it's going to get a little bit quicker, I think, just because that's how track evolution usually works, but I say usually because, honestly, I don't have a clue if this track is going to get quicker or not. I think it will get quicker, but by how much is going to remain a bit of a mystery here. That's a big spin and a big crash. Jack Perry losing it on the exit of a Rouge is going to go ahead and just lose the Huracan and loses the rear wing in the process. Jack Perry having a bit of a rough time to go ahead and kick things off. So we do have Nicholas Southevong in the session. He is driving a Corvette. There is a interesting issue that happens with Le Mans Ultimate. So if you join the session before somebody else, anybody who joins after you will spawn in this Porsche instead of the car that they actually will drive. I think in the race it does reset. I know we had some funny issues with it during Le Mans. We had some game crashes that we had to go ahead and work through, but I know he is actually in a Corvette. I'm actually still unsure why it shows the Porsche, but it'll be fixed in the actual race. But look how treacherous it is right now. The sky has darkened here, so the sun usually added a little bit of heat to the track layout or the track surface, so cars could get a bit more grip here, but now the clouds are back in full effect, and now it's going to be really tricky for these drivers to get a good lap. So this is one of the few times where I would say that it is probably going to be better for that first lap impression, because normally in a regular qualifying session it'd be pretty easy to say that the track evolution just kind of ramps up over time and the lap times get quicker and quicker and quicker as the rubber gets applied to the surface, as many cars just drive over it, especially when you have a field of about 26 cars like we do here today. But considering that it's going to consistently rain throughout the entirety of the session, I'm actually really curious to think about what the hypercars are feeling right now, because it's about to be their turn. It is about to be their turn. We are down to the final few minutes of the GT3 qualifying, and then we're going to go ahead and swap over to the hypercars to go ahead and give them a go in their qualifying. So I'm actually going to be really curious to see how this pans out, because I mean the hypercars are definitely going to be in a bit of a interesting situation here, just because there is going to be a bit of extra rubber from the GT3s as Jesse Verwer is going to go ahead and have a bit of a wide trip through the bus stop chicane before he comes across the line. He's not improving on his personal time. Few drivers still yet to improve. Jack Powell in that Mercedes has yet to set a lap time. There is a yellow flag, so that it was another car going off. Getting a bit into the gravel there. As we were wrapping up the final few minutes, we're going to go ahead and just talk about how this works. Or just the championship standings, I should say. So, just after Le Mans, it is Team Lexus currently in the lead with 112 points, followed by Aston Martin with 102, and then it is Corvette. Those three are the ones immediately in this championship fight right now, with Lexus, Aston, and Corvette being relatively close to each other. And then about 30 odd points down, about 32 points down, I would say. I think that's mathematically correct. You have Ford, Mercedes, Porsche, Lambo, McLaren, Ferrari, and BMW rounding out the team scores right now. And then we take a look at the driver standings at the moment. I mean, I don't see him on track here today, so that lead is gonna come down quite substantially. But Jonas Bergqvist in the Aston Martin is in the lead right now with 102 points. The next driver up is Nico Perez in the Lexus. He has 69 points. Very nice score indeed. But he's definitely going to want to try to maximize the results here today and try to go ahead and just bring himself closer to his rival here. And then we're going to also talk about Hypercar as well when we get to the Hypercar standings, because Hypercar was shaken up after Le Mans after the very strong win from Marcus Woltensdorfer, who ended up winning in the Estota Fraschini, getting a very nice points tally, a very nice 50 points to his name and to the team of Estota Fraschini. So everybody has set a time now, aside from Adrian Gabinski, currently in the pits right now. He's gonna go ahead and, I think that's, well, I don't think he's not gonna have enough time to set another lap. So back on board with Charles Leclerc, he's gonna go ahead and get on through. We'll see what his lap time is gonna go ahead and be. He is currently on provisional pole. He is purple in sector 1. So he is a 10th up in sector 1 at the moment. Are we going to see another strong result here from the Ferrari? We will see. This could be a really good lap if he can keep it out of the wall, like his real life counterpart in Baku. But we'll just have to see how this one pans out for the Ferrari. Curious to see what that second sector split is going to be, because right now I think his fastest time was the first lap time that he set in this qualifying session for the GT3s. So I'd be really curious. We're actually going to ride on board now with the Ferrari. The windshield wipers are going, so it is still raining out here on the circuit. Not heavily, but it is still enough to keep this track very, very moist and very slick as well. So if you go ahead and just, oh, he's pulled over. He is pulled over and he's into the pits. He's just going to go ahead and return onto the pits now. I think quite a few drivers are still in the pits. Here's one that's not in the pits. We have Chris Kyle right now trying to come across the line, and it is 10th for the McLaren. A 2:38.521, and he's just going to go deep into the runoff. And I believe that is GT3 qualifying done and dusted. We still have a few cars out on track trying to go ahead and complete their laps and then just come on into the pits. Hypercars will be out very, very soon. So your pole sitter right now, and it looks like it's going to remain that way unless Pydad goes ahead and just starts breaking records here. Oh, he's into the gravel, so never mind. That is not going to happen. So as we go to wrap things up here in the GT3s, Charles Leclerc on pole position with a 2:33, followed by Maxwell, Amerlan, Namaja Rajkovic, Leandro Yecker, Nico Perez, Daniel Piedad, Jesse Verwer, Francisco Chavez, Nicholas Southavong, and then we have Chris Kyle, Ricardo Silva, Jack Powell, Bobby Sidhu, and Ken Scott. And then also Adrian Gabinski, who is unable to set a time in that Ferrari. So that is everything here. Now it is time to go ahead and switch our focus to the hypercars, because the hypercars are now out on circuit. And here we go, going and making a run through our hypercar field. We have David Rayfinger, Dario Osario, Antoine Poncet, Mario Paradiso, and then Daniel Casimiro, Marcus Walterdorfer, Bradley Kennedy, Alex Afonso, Jerome Lenorand, Alex Drury, and then Gregory Cazadaraz, and then Mason One. Okay, I couldn't read apparently for a moment, but anyways, that is our 12 hypercars on the field today. So we have 4 Cadillacs, so Cadillacs are going to get some really strong points here. So we have our Cadillacs, which, funny enough, Cadillac is on the top of the team standings by almost, actually by double the amount. So, I mean, Cadillac is very likely to win the Constructors' Championship here in Season 3. As we go ahead and just run on board with one. Although it is a Porsche, apparently. So, yeah, that is a bit of a LMU lobby glitch. We do apologize for that. So we'll jump over with a different one that actually loads in as a Cadillac. We have Porsche Isotta Fraschini in P2 and P3, with Isotta Fraschini gaining 50 points from winning at Le Mans last week. So they jumped way up the order. They are definitely winning out of the boutique manufacturers competition. And then we have BMW, Peugeot, Lamborghini, who are only separated by a singular point. So the battle could be on between them, although I don't actually see either car actually here on track today. So that battle is just going to wait a moment. And then we have Ferrari, which are in a pretty good position to jump Peugeot and Lamborghini and BMW, because there's no BMWs on track, but they have to get a good result here in Spa. Followed by Alpine, Glickenhaus, and Toyota, with Van Wall having 0 points to round out the bottom of the championship. So the battles to really kind of think about today is just take a look at who's really close and who's not. So Peugeot and Lamborghini are about a point away, but neither one of them are there. So Ferrari being only about 3.5 points and 4.5 points away from those teams respectively, then that could be a jump up the order. So Ferrari could go ahead and they can even, if they win here, they have a good chance of sliding in right behind Isotta Fraschini, honestly. So that's a battle there that we can keep an eye on. But also, Antoine Poncet going a bit wide there. It is tricky for these hypercars, I will say that. So, that's a spin. I believe that was Osari. No, that's definitely one of the other hypercars that have not loaded in officially yet, so unsure of who that was, but we do have some first lap times. Antoine Poncet in the Cadillac is going to go ahead and take the fastest time of the session at the moment. So, I mean, it's only about 0.4 of a second between Rayfinger and Poncet. Poncet has been a consistent force here in LSR for the hypercar division. He's been around since the first season that we did here, and honestly, he has been putting in some really good performances in that Cadillac. Currently in the lead of the Drivers' Championship by about 13 points. So he's got a pretty decent lead over his Cadillac teammate, but that could be a battle that we could be watching here too. Another one is going to be Toyota and Glickenhaus. Now, granted, Toyota does have a mighty fine advantage here on this track compared to the Glickenhaus, because the Glickenhaus doesn't have a hybrid system and it is rear-wheel drive compared to Toyota, which is hybrid and all-wheel drive. So it's going to be a tricky one for Glickenhaus, but they are 2 points ahead of Toyota. So, I mean, it could pay out for them. And I mean, with these 90-minute races, you have to be within the top 11 in class to get points. So, I mean, that could really shake things up because there's really, out of everybody here, there's only one driver in the hypercar that is not going to get points here. So, but that is also accounting for everybody finishing this 90-minute endeavor. So, we're actually going to ride on board with the Glickenhaus as it gets ready to take on its lap here. We're going to step aside, let you enjoy the onboard sound of the Glickenhaus, and we'll be right back. Alrighty then, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you guys did enjoy that onboard lap with the Glickenhaus as it tackles its way through spot. Currently in P11 right now, about 10 seconds off of the hypercar pole at the moment. And right now, just take a look at the qualifying session. So we did have another hypercar join in that is going to appear as a Porsche, but we do have a Lamborghini of Johnny Luna has entered the session, and we are down to the final 5 minutes of qualifying, and then we're going to go ahead and get into a 90-minute race here as everything is going to go ahead and kick off here. So Mario Paradisio is going to go ahead and begin another lap in the Alpine. He's going to go ahead and make his way through the circuit now, going through Eau Rouge and Radion onto the Kemmel Straight. It is I mean, we saw a few of the GT3 cars kind of lose it there. In particular, we saw the Lamborghini of, I want to say it was, I think it was Jack Powell, I think, that ended up losing it, but we'll come back to that momentarily, because it is hypercar time here at LSR. So we're going to go ahead, and while we have Paradisio going through his lap at the moment, I mean, I think it's a good time that we can go to talk about the remaining races on the calendar. So there's a lot of fun races coming up too, and for the first time, there is a GT3 only event and a hypercar only event. pretty much one directly after the other. So that could be a very interesting time. We can maybe see how that is all going to go ahead and play out. I'm going to go ahead and bring it on up. So while I got to bring this up, we will talk about. So it was interesting worth noting that Mario was faster in Sector 1, not as fast in Sector 2, still about 1.5 seconds off of pole position, but this will jump him up quite a bit. Or sorry, 1.1 seconds off of pole, at least after that second sector, so that would actually put him up to 4th as he goes ahead and navigates the bus stop chicane. He's going to come across the line, and it is going to be a time good enough for... He's not going to improve. So he was still... It was a purple Sector 3, so the Alpine was the fastest in Sector 3, just couldn't improve on it. So Antoine Poncet still in provisional pole position at the moment. I don't think David Rayfinger is going to go ahead and give it another go. I think he's pretty much just done and dusted for the session. But anyways, now we're going to talk about the calendar, because actually next up, next week, is actually the 45 minutes of Outer Bahrain for the Hypercar class exclusively. And then we go to the GT Challenge at Bahrain. So that is September 27th and October 4th. So those are going to be two specific races. September 7th is the 45 minutes of Outer Bahrain, and then October 4th is the GT Challenge at Bahrain. So the Hypercars and the GT3s will be having split events for the only time this season. It's actually really interesting to see that, because as far as I know, that is the only time in LSR history that we've had this kind of event happen, where we split up the Hypercars and the GT3s. It is still unfortunate that some drivers who have joined in later are only the Porsches, but we will see. Right now, Mason One, I'm going to get that name right eventually. Mason One is currently just behind the Toyota. Well, he's actually a few seconds off the Toyota, and this is not going to be a good race for him. At least it's not good conditions for the Glickenhaus. The American boutique manufacturer, I mean, it's got so many disadvantages compared to pretty much every other car on the grid. Coming across the line now with 54 seconds left on the clock. Is it going to be an improvement on time? It is not. So Onley is now at the bottom of the Hypercar standings here for this qualifying session, but it is so tricky for that Glickenhaus, because like I said earlier, it is rear-wheel drive and no hybrid system compared to the car that is directly competing against in that Toyota. So it's just not a great time right now. Now the winner from Le Mans is currently in P6. He got pole position at Le Mans, and then ended up winning from pole position, even though it was a very nail-biter of a finish. Only a few tenths separated them. I think it was even less than half a second separated the two. It was a beautiful battle, but in the end, it did end up in the hands of the Assunta Foschini. But Alex Afonso did get some good points from that. He's actually about to come across the line. It's not a pole time, but he is improving quite a bit. So, oh, a big snap at the end of the bus stop chicane. He might still improve. He's up in the 7th. I don't think that was an improvement. And the Cadillac's in the wall. The Cadillac into the wall. And, I mean, talk about finishing or qualifying in dramatic fashion. That was dramatic if I've ever seen dramatic. But, ooh, not a great qualifying end for him. But we are done with qualifying for the Hypercars, so we're going to go ahead and just run through our qualifying order for the Hypercars. Championship leader Antoine Poncet is on pole position, followed by David Rayfinger, only about a tenth of a second off, so it could be a fun battle between the Ferrari and the Cadillac. And then it is Jerome Lenorand, Dario Osario, Mario Paradiso, Marcus Waltersdorfer, Alex Afonso, Alex Drury, Bradley Kennedy, Daniel Casimiro, Gregory Cazares, Johnny Luna, and Mason Olney. Rounding out our qualifying grid. Mason Olney might be able to jump Johnny Luna here if he can get a good run here out of the bus stop chicane, but that is a tall mountain to climb. You can see that he's fighting for grip. And he is going to improve, but it is not going to be for any kind of position. He'll improve his time, but not his place. And now we get ready to go ahead and kick things off here with the 90 minutes of Spa-Francorchamps. We're going to go ahead and bring out the entirety of the grid. And there we go. Top 20 cars on your screen at the moment. And then we're going to go ahead and just get ready for 90 minutes of racing action here. 29 cars overall, with Antoine Poncet leading us in the hypercar category, and then Charles Leclerc leading us in the GT3 category. So we're going to see how this one pans out. Are we going to see winners from pole position again here, like we did in Le Mans? Or are we going to see some surprises, considering that this track is supposed to be very, very wet? I'm not too sure, to be honest. We've seen some cars have some really, well, they were really slippery, some cars here at the start, so it'll be very interesting. So here's our hypercar field now. They're about to get ready to go. We're going to see how these drivers go ahead and line up. And there it is. We do have all of our hypercars here. We don't have any hypercars cosplaying as a Porsche GT3, as that is a bit of a loading glitch in Le Mans Ultimate, where sometimes if you, as a spectator, if you join the lobby and people join after you, their car just doesn't load in properly. Maybe that's something they'll fix with the ELMS update coming, I think actually in October, I want to say. It's either this month or October that we're going to see the ELMS update. I'm actually really excited for it. But you heard the race control. The formation lap has started here, and yep, even though it does look a bit sunny out there, those cars aren't all having engine failures simultaneously. The track is very wet. It is very slick, and I mean, to the surprise of no one, you see the blue banded tires, all of them running the full wet tire today. So I mean, we can just pull up the tire graphic and you can see that everybody is on the wet tire. To the surprise of no one, because look how much spray is just being kicked up from these drivers just running just at this pace. I mean, there's not a lot really, not a lot of grip here at this stage of the race. I mean, the rain is still coming down despite the bright blue skies. I think Belgium decided to kind of become Florida in that sense. Bright blue skies, downpour of rain on the circuit, and we're about to go green here very, very shortly. It is going to be a tricky one to get the start right. The Cadillac will lead us to green here. The cars are going to get in formation, and then we're going to get ready for racing here in the hypercar category. We're about to send them live in a few moments' time. They're about to cross the line and get ready to go.
Green flag.
And the green flag is down, and everybody's racing down into turn one, going to La Source. And we'll see how these drivers, you can just see the spray from these cars. It is just insane how much the spray is prominent here. We're going to jump down to the GT3s, as Maxwell Amerland is going to jump into the lead of this race. So he is currently 13th overall, but he is first in class. And he actually jumped Mason Olney. Mason Olney in the Glickenhaus hypercar has got to get past this Toyota, or this Corvette. He is going to get past. The hypercar is going to go through, but look at that! You can't even see the cars here. It is just a mountain of spray. Just a mountain of spray here as we go ahead and get going in our first laps here at Spa-Francorchamps. Marcus Waltersdorfer has jumped up a spot too. He's up into 5th. So a few drivers are in pretty decent spots. Jerome Linerand is pretty much right up the gearbox of that Ferrari, or getting very close to anyway. But here's the thing. In this kind of point of the race, you really got to just try to maintain your distance, just because the wet is just so prominent here. I mean, we can just see the spray on the front of this Penske Porsche as he makes his way through the track. I mean, there is so much just wet weather here on circuit that you really got to kind of worry about, because you can't even really see the car ahead. It's probably worse than some other views. Yeah, here's the spray coming off the back of the Porsche. This is one thing that you can definitely see, is just how much spray is just coming off of that Porsche at the moment. And I mean, look at this. I mean, from this view. So here's what the driver is kind of seeing at the moment. Or more like what the driver is not seeing at the moment, because right now, he is getting closer and closer to that Ferrari, but I mean, right now that spray is just making things just practically non-existent. Like, there's a lot of cases, and you'll see drivers kind of jockeying for these positions, trying to keep an eye on like what's actually ahead of them, because with these kind of conditions, it is very difficult to see the car ahead. And let alone, if you can't see the car ahead, then you're gonna have a really tough time seeing if they make a mistake, and that could really ruin your race. If the car in front of you makes a mistake and you just have no reaction time because you can't really see it, it can be pretty hard to prepare for things you really can't see. So, I mean, Godspeed to these drivers taking on the track in these conditions. Now we're going to jump down to the battle. Well, it is a GM-owned machine in front being chased by a Ferrari and hypercar. It's the same deal here in GT3. Pole sitter Charles Leclerc trying to chase down Maxwell Amerlin here. In that Ferrari, he's pushing, but it's going to be a tricky one. There's still a good amount of racing left to go here. It is a 90-minute race, so you only got about an hour. I mean, you got an hour and a half to really get things done here. So, one of the longer races on the calendar, but not the longest race on the calendar. That was last week's race, but and honestly, there's still so much to really play for here in this race. I mean, anything can go wrong, anything can go right for these drivers. As we see, the two teammates are pretty close together. The two Lexuses are going to go ahead and give it their all. I mean, they're doing really solid. I mean, they're going to get some solid points. They already have a pretty good lead in the Constructors' Championship for the GT3 category. So they have a lot of room to work with here, as they do have the Lamborghini of Nemanja Rackovic just directly behind. As we make a jump back up to the hypercar field, it is still Jerome Linerand putting pressure onto the AF Corsa Ferrari of David Rayfinger as they go to make their way through the bus stop chicane. It is wet conditions here, and you can actually see that the Ferrari is taking more curb on the exit of turn 19, so taking a bit more curb, maybe getting a bit of a better exit as well. I would honestly think that you try to avoid the curbs, because those curbs can be very slick around this circuit. I mean, we saw it in the real life Lone Star Le Mans this year, where a Porsche actually just barely touched the curb and just got spun around. And I can imagine it's a similar thing here, as Linerand takes a good chunk of a Rouge. He's got that gap pretty close now to the back of the Ferrari, just up ahead. And I mean, honestly, this could be really, really intense here. Really, really tricky stuff on circuit. I mean, not exactly ideal conditions, but I mean, once again, these are some of the best drivers that you'll see on Le Mans Ultimate. So you know they're going to go ahead and just give it their all, and they're going to do their best despite the weather conditions. Now, we're going to jump on board back with the Glickenhaus, as the Glickenhaus is actually not too far from the Cadillac of Gergely Kazateras here, or Katsaras here, so it'll be interesting to see if he can go ahead and just get the pass done. I mean, he needs it, honestly. He needs to try to minimize the points lost to Toyota here, because Toyota's definitely going to jump them in the constructor standings at this point. There's only 2 points separating them, with Glickenhaus ahead by 2. That's 12 to 10 for Glickenhaus compared to Toyota. But once again, this is probably the worst possible conditions for the Glickenhaus, honestly. It is unfortunate. I do love the Glickenhaus. As an American myself, I am a fan of the American machines, but it's just not the ideal track surface for them. First off, it's already kind of down on speed and acceleration anyway because of the fact that it's missing a hybrid system. It also is rear-wheel drive, which is the only rear-wheel drive exclusive hypercar on the field at the moment. But also, you got to remember that it's just not as quick of a car compared to the Toyota, and it's missing all-wheel drive is really going to hurt it here in the rain. So we did see that Jerome Lenorand did get past David Rayfinger as they make their way through Rouge yet again. But here's the thing, I think Lenorand is taking a bit too much of the off-track there, so if he's not careful, he could get a penalty here, which could really kind of hurt his race and drop him right back behind the Ferrari. He works hard to get past. Alex Alfonso now having a few cars to kind of contend with at the moment. It is Daniel Casemiro going ahead and putting pressure onto the back of that Cadillac. The Cadillac trying to put pressure onto the Toyota of Alex Drury, so battle of the Alexes here for P6 at the moment. And just a bit further back, we have Johnny Luna in that Lamborghini trying to go ahead and catch up to Dario Osario here. We'll see if he can go ahead and do it, jumping down to the GT3s as Alex Alfonso is going ahead and battling. He's trying to get these positions. Osario is battling just behind. And he's going to try to continue to put pressure onto the Porsche. There's a lot of battles going on here in the hypercar class, but also we got to take a look at our GT3 field as well, because there's some interesting fights going on here as well. But look at this, it's a very hard wheel-to-wheel battle here. This is a tough battle. Bradley Kennedy is not going to give him an inch. He's another driver who's been around since the beginning of this Le Mans Ultimate Series. He has been faithful to the 963. The Cadillac goes hard on the brakes. He goes a bit deep into the corner. He loses time. And Bradley Kennedy is going to go ahead and start to just ebb away at that gap. But it is still early times here as we're under 10 minutes into the race. Now we're going to jump back to the GT3 field as Charles Leclerc is going to go and try to put pressure onto Maxwell Amerlan. Ferrari versus Chevrolet. Now we've heard of Ford versus Ferrari, but I think seeing that the Mustangs are kind of far down here on this GT3 field, I think Chevrolet decided to be the American squad that goes ahead and takes the fight to Ferrari, takes it to the Scuderia. And right now, I mean, things are pretty far spread out in this GT3 field. Aside from this battle that we are currently watching, the battle currently on your screens at the moment. Now, there's not as much spray being kicked up by the Corvette. And actually, I think the Corvette might just be kind of drawing off the track ever so slightly, although that dryness is not lasting very long at all. As we can see, he's going to go ahead and try to close the gap. Maybe think about a move into the bus stop. Not a chance. You can make moves into the bus stop, but most times out of 10, it's just going to get traded back. You're just going to lose that position again, so you're just going to fall victim to the switchback. And honestly, you're better off just trying to get the overtake done going through Eau Rouge and Raidillon. That's pretty much where you're better off at the moment, but once again, you can just see the spray coming off of that Corvette. It is tricky if you're this Ferrari, because, I mean, you need a lot of your senses. The human body uses its senses very nicely and to a very high degree of efficiency in most cases, right? You have the sense of smell, your sense of hearing, your sense of touch, and then I know there's a few others, but the most important one, especially in these conditions, is your sense of sight. And you have to visually identify your braking zones and your braking points to make sure you don't careen into the back of this Corvette in particular, if you are Charles Leclerc at the moment. But you kind of lose that here in the rain, so you really just got to be so trusting of the car ahead not to make a mistake and not to just kind of brake check you in a sense. But yeah, I mean, it is difficult weather here for these cars. Now let's actually jump back to Jack Powell and go ahead and see how he's going to go ahead and continue to navigate through the circuit. And he's going to go ahead and try to go ahead and continue to close that gap up. He was within the second of Adrian Kabinski earlier on, but I think he's just lost a bit of that time. Now the thing is that the Mercedes is a car that is very good in a straight line, but it can be a bit difficult to navigate with in these conditions. So I'll be very curious to see if Jack Powell can really start heaping on the pressure and just continuing to just race his heart out here. But the gaps have spread out quite a bit in Hypercar, but I think we do have a really strong battle here. I think we have a rematch from Le Mans here. Yeah, we do. It is Marcus Waltersdorfer and Alex Afonso. This is a rematch here. Round 2. It went the way of the Isotta Foschini in France at Le Mans, but is it going to happen again? Now, this car doesn't have the same amount of disadvantages as the Glickenhaus, but we're going to see Alex Afonso thinking about trying to go around the outside. Nope, not a chance. Waltersdorfer's defense is very strong, but they go side by side as they make their way through the chicane. And they're going to go to give it a go. They're going to send it. And these two, I mean, there's definitely still some heat from Le Mans here. So, you know that these drivers are going to give it everything they got. Waltersdorfer knows he can beat Afonso. But Afonso also knows he is likely the quicker car in this situation. But he was in Le Mans too, but he just couldn't capitalize on it. So, Marcus Waltersdorfer is pretty much the hero for Isotta Foschini, but he does go a bit wide there. And now they make their way to the bus stop chicane. And it is still going to be Marcus Waltersdorfer in the lead of this battle. Still P5 overall. So, I mean, the top 5 finish for Isotta Foschini. Here's the thing. Before last week, Isotta Foschini had a singular point all season. So in the first 2 rounds, they managed to score a singular point. And then Le Mans happened, and now they're at 51 points. So Waltersdorfer has definitely been the driver that Isotta have needed. I mean, I don't think it's going to really surprise anybody when I say that the Isotta Foschini is not the fastest car available to any of these drivers in the hypercar category. It's just not. As much as I wish it was, and as much as I wish these boutique manufacturers were as quick, if not faster, than the mainstay brands, that's just unfortunately just not the reality of things. But if you put the right driver in that car, then they can make magic happen. And a big snap there from the Isotta Foschini. Alex Afonso, Portuguese driver, gonna try to go around the outside, and he's gonna hold on to it for now. The Austrian driver trying to keep the position, but it's so tricky for these drivers. We have 2 cars already out of this race. 2 drivers out of this race already. And this could be trouble, honestly, for these cars. I mean, honestly. So we did lose 2 drivers. We have lost Dario Sario, and that's an off moment for Waltersdorfer there. An off moment. And he is down back into the 6th place. as Waltersdorfer is going to try to push back, but it is not happening yet. But we do have a battle for the lead happening here. And oh, contact! Traffic and contact! Oh, I think Ponset got bumped into. He got kind of sandwiched there between the BMW and the Porsche. Getting stuck in a bit of a German sandwich there as we see. Ponset's going to go ahead and give it everything. He's going to try. There's another yellow flag out. Not sure. That might be one of the GT3s going and getting lapped. But now, One is actually going to get points here in the hypercars because we did lose 2 GT3s. And the top 11 gets points here for these 90-minute races. So it could be super tricky in this race. I mean, you got to get around this traffic. Oh, a bit of contact. A bit of contact by Chris Kyle and Jerome Linerand, the French driver, just kind of getting stuck now, but behind Antoine Ponset. This could be pretty spicy, I would say. This indeed has the potential to be really, really spicy. Oh, this is getting dicey. It is Jerome Linerand side by side. They got to get around this BMW, and they do. But Jerome Linerand does get that position off. He gets the position away from the championship leader. It's the battle of the Frenchmen now. It is Porsche versus Cadillac. Ponset and Linerand's been having a fantastic race here in this Porsche. He has been having a beautiful time of it here. And honestly, I'm just surprised that went as smoothly as it did. They're flashing the lights, but it's so hard to see the lights as Nico Perez is getting passed up now by the hypercars. And he goes a bit wide there, which is going to give some breathing room to these hypercars. But there is a massive battle now for the lead of this race here. And actually, we've now received 4 DNFs. And the 2 cars touch! Ponset and Jerome Linerand are going to go in and touch as they go through the bus stop chicane. Ponset retakes the position. He's going to go ahead and make the cut. He wants the better line going into La Sauce. And, oh, this could be even more drama. The wet weather has definitely shown its hand here in Spa. The sun is kind of out, but the track is still super duper wet. And I think it's actually supposed to be, like, I don't think this track is supposed to dry out at all during this race. So, Ponset in the lead now of this race as Alex Drury is now trying to close in behind Johnny Luna and Bradley Kennedy just up ahead. The Toyota having a pretty decent race. Currently second to last in the constructors, but they're likely to jump Glickenhaus at least, but it has not been a strong season for Toyota. They've scored 12 points across the season so far. They're going to look for more here. They're in a good position to get more here, as it is currently P8 for Alex Drury at the moment, as he's trying to chase down Bradley Kennedy and Johnny Luna just up the road. And this could be, oh, there's a Mustang. It's Paibad. Daniel Paibad, the Spanish driver. He's going to go to get past now by Alex Drury. So the Toyota is going to go and get on through, but he lost a wealth of time to that. As we go ahead and check down with our GT3 field. Actually, scratch that. This battle is still getting very close here for the lead of the race. And we see it now as they get so close to Hertz Jota Cadillac of Antoine Ponset and the Porsche Penske of Jerome Linerand. They're going to go to fight it out. But this could be a very, very tight run here. And look at this. We have Linerand trying to go around the outside and trying to make a move going through the bus stop chicane. The outside does become the inside, but Ponset's going to hold on to that one for a while longer. And these two are just going to be brutally beating the life out of each other on this track. They're just going to give it everything that they possibly have here. As it's going to be deeper into those zones, but he goes too deep! He goes too deep. Jerome Linnerad going too deep. Oh, and there's contact between him and the Ferrari. David Rayfinger getting tapped by the Porsche, gets spun around. Round and round like a merry-go-round. And oh, that is heartbreaking. Leandro Yecker was gonna get past temporarily, but he has given up that position back to the Ferrari. But now we have Kabinski and Kabinski and Chavez. We saw this battle up at the front, and unfortunately the helicopter cam got it blocked. But I think we are indeed seeing that Kabinski is getting a position, but look how slippery it is. Both of these cars are just sliding around. It's like a deer on ice skates right now, trying to go and navigate through this track. But it is just not looking great out here for these cars. I mean, they are struggling to find any semblance of grip here onto the circuit. We still have 4 DNFs, 2 in the GT3s, 2 in the hypercars. Here's your top 5 in each class at the moment. Antoine Poncet is leading in the hypercars. And then Maxwell Amerlant is in the Corvette just up ahead, but we might have a 3-way battle potentially starting to, I say we're starting to brew here, but nope, that other car in the background is the Ferrari of David Rayfinger, as he was close to battling for this, even for the lead of this race, but he just got tapped by Jerome Linderman. That's probably going to get taken up with the stewards. It may be considered a racing incident, but I don't know. I will leave that to the stewards. They are much better at their job than I am at their job, so we'll just leave it to them. But here we go. Jerome Linderand leaving nothing to chance here at the moment. I mean, we're not even 30 minutes into this race. We're not even close to the pit cycle, but you're still seeing these cars go ahead and give it their all. But here's the thing, though. The thing that can really shake it up here is that these wet tires do kind of burn out quickly, but I mean, considering how wet it is on track, I don't think tire management is really going to be a big issue at the moment. We're going to go ahead and stick with the hypercars for a bit, and we're going to go ahead and check in on how much energy they have remaining. So yeah, we're probably going to be around the, I'd imagine maybe the 45-minute mark when we see them go ahead and make their pit stop for the race. That's probably when we're going to go ahead and see these cars go ahead and make their pit stops. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how this one all plays out. But I mean, it's still a good amount of racing left to go here. I mean, you got to give a hand to these drivers. They are just putting it all on the line here. They are giving it everything that they possibly have here to really put on a fantastic show for us, and also to go ahead and race for points, race for glory, race for these championships. I mean, there's so much to play for here in this race, as we have Javi Mora now pretty much stuck behind, has Marcus Waltersdorfer just directly behind. Oh, contact again! Contact, GT3 and Hypercar, and that might also put a damper on the winner of Le Mans' race here. The Le Mans winner of Waltersdorfer having a bit of a tough time trying to get around the GT3s, but yeah, that's another thing too, and he's into the gravel. Into the gravel he goes. He is still going to be ahead of the GT3, but he's gonna lose a lot of time though. Still losing a ton of time just to these cars just up the road ahead. So Amerlant has actually built up a bit of a gap now. He is about 1.3 seconds ahead. There's actually pretty big gaps across a lot of the field here, but Some gaps are pretty close. Actually, Ponset is actually pulling away from Jerome Lenorand here as they make their way through a Rouge again. Yeah, I think they kind of like just got a bit more pace now at this stage of the race, so he's going to go ahead and try to go ahead and get at least a little bit of a clear line of sight, which once again, in these conditions with how much spray these hypercars are kicking up, it is just atrocious for vision, honestly. I mean, there is so many things that could just go so wrong for you, especially just with the lack of vision. I mean, Spa can be pretty tricky sometimes in full dry conditions when the track is, you know, it's dry, sunny, no rain whatsoever. It's still very easy to make mistakes here. And then you throw in the wet weather conditions and multi-class, and I mean, things could just go pear-shaped really, really quickly here. So if you guys have any requests or any personal preferences on which driver we should ride on board with for a bit, do go ahead and drop it in the YouTube chat. We will go ahead and fulfill that request within reason. And how are you guys today? I do want to go ahead and ask that. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day here. I'm having a fun time here at Spa. It's always a good time to come back here to Spa-Francorchamps, to Le Mans Ultimate, to Lightning Speed Racing. It's always a good time coming back here and commentating for these very fun races that we're seeing here. Lots of beautiful cars, lots of beautiful tracks, and lots of beautiful racing to go with it. And I will also just go ahead and say that this is your, well, you'll probably get multiple of these, but this is a Recus hydration announcement. So go ahead and hydrate. Once again, we are here at the 90 minutes of Spa-Francorchamps. My name is Patrick Coleman, aka Recus. I'll be your host and commentator for today's race here at Spa-Francorchamps. Hope you guys are enjoying the racing going on here as we just watch Bradley Kennedy just carve his way through. And I think that is Ken Scott. Yes, that is Ken Scott. Currently P14 in the GT3s in that number 92 Porsche. Having a bit of a moment there. Now, I will also say this, right? Touching grass is a good thing to do as a human being. You know, the body does like its vitamin D. You know, being in the sunlight. Granted, there's not much of it here at Spa at the moment, but the sunlight is good for your skin, and touching grass is a good thing. However, do not touch grass at Spa-Francorchamps, especially in the wet, as Marcus has a little bit of a dink with the inside of La Source, and his race is just kind of coming unfolded at the seams here for the most recent race winner here at LSR. Don't touch walls either. Yeah, touching walls and grass are not recommended here at Spa-Francorchamps, because you're not gonna have a good time with either, really. Because I mean, we saw it earlier with Scott. He just kind of spun out after touching a little bit of grass in that Porsche, and then you had Waltersdorfer, who really just kind of lost a good amount of time from touching a wall on the inside of La Source. I mean, it could have been worse, yes, but I mean, for the most part, it's not ideal, let's just say that. And for those of you who watched the Formula 1 qualifying that happened before this race in the real world, touching walls is really not good, because it can sometimes you can get away with it, other times you ruin your entire race. There is no in between. Either you get away with it, but barely, or your race is done. Pretty much your two options if you decide to touch a wall around here. Ideally, you don't touch any walls, but I mean, as Charles Leclerc found out in Baku, touching a wall is not a great thing. But he's been doing pretty good here at Spa. So he's currently in the lead in class at the moment. He did get past Maxwell Amerlan here. And actually, he's a pretty good distance away. He's about 2 seconds away in this GT3 field here, so a pretty solid gap. Oh, here we go. We have a battle here for position as we do get some battles on track here. As we are about over 30 minutes into the race, it is Ricardo Silva and Adrian Gabinski going in and get ready to do battle here. The Iron Dames number 85 Porsche, and now there's a Cadillac in between us, so the Cadillac's going to go ahead and make things a bit tricky. That is Antoine Poncet, and actually that did kind of spread that gap out just by a bit, as there's some more battles happening in the GT3 field at the moment. Jesse Verwer is under pressure now from Daniel Pydad. We'll see if the Mustang can go ahead and get past the BMW, but it is going to be a bit of a tricky time here to go to try to navigate it, but it could pay out. I mean, he's closing that gap in very, very nicely in that Mustang. I mean, here's pretty much what he's seeing partially. But look at this. The BMW goes wide, the Mustang goes a tad wide. Couldn't quite capitalize it on it yet, but here's actually a bit of a more accurate representation of what the Mustang is seeing at the moment as it goes and it makes its way through La Source, and now it's going to go ahead and just try to fight its way through here, going through Rouge and Radeon. We'll see how this is going to work out for the Mustang, because we've seen some cars go pretty wide over some of the curbs here. Mustang gets a bit wide on exit, but overall does a very solid job navigating through. And there is an Antoine Poncet has to go into the grass. Poncet having a very risky moment. He had to, I mean, he pretty much just didn't have anywhere else to go. He had to turn that Cadillac into a lawnmower momentarily just to go to get through. It is scary stuff out here on this circuit. I mean, we're definitely in the point now where traffic is well integrated with the hypercar field, and I mean, like we said earlier, traffic can really make or break your race in these type of events. So, I mean, and I know a lot of times some initial thoughts are like, well, yeah, the hypercars could go ahead and get dinged, or they can get just kind of trapped behind one, but honestly, the traffic situation is a two-way street. Because like we saw earlier, right, the hypercars can really kind of just cut in the middle of a battle and just kind of make things a bit difficult to really manage, but at the same time, a hypercar can also get spun out and the race ruined by a GT3 car. So, I mean, I don't think about the hypercars first a lot of the time, but it is really a two-way street between GT3 and hypercars, so we are about 35-ish minutes into the race here. So we're going to go ahead and just allow you to enjoy the sights and sounds of, let's see, what car should we ride on board with for a bit so you can enjoy some engine ASMR. We were on board with a hypercar last time, I believe, so we will hop on board. We'll go ahead and hop on board with the GT3. We'll hop on board with the oldest car on the grid, but I don't believe it's the oldest driver on the grid, but the oldest car on the grid, nevertheless, with the Lexus of Nico Perez. We're going to ride on board with him for the remainder of this lap, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Alrighty then, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you guys did enjoy the onboard lap with Nico Perez, or at least the remainder of the onboard lap, as we are back here racing at Spa-Francorchamps. 52.5 minutes left to go here on the track. We have been here for over half an hour already in this 90-minute race, so over a third of the way done here. And in about 10 minutes or so is when we're going to start expecting at least the hypercars to potentially start making their pit stops. So, and you can just see how rough the spray is around the circuit as David Rayfinger is going to go ahead and get around here. He's going to go ahead and jump on past. He's going to jump on past the GT3 car that he just went through, got past Nico Perez. So apologies for that, everyone. The weather is pretty tricky out here, and so is trying to commentate while fighting off a sneeze. So I do apologize for a little bit of that abrupt silence, but we are back here in action. So here we go. We do have a battle here. Johnny Luna is going to go ahead and put pressure onto Alex Afonso, the Portuguese driver, and the American are going to go at it. They get past the GT3, and now they are going to go ahead and fight. They're going to fight tooth and nail. It's going to be tricky. I mean, the Lamborghini is going to have no kind of real visual here. I mean, here's a view that we're going to get pretty close. Well, this is right on the front bumper of the Lamborghini. So, I mean, this could be really, really tricky to kind of identify a good lane to kind of pass it. Because we know that Cadillac is also very, very quick here. And I mean, it's been certainly doing well in these conditions, I will say. Because you have Antoine Ponzet, who is just leading this field right now, as Johnny Luna does get closer and closer to trying to go ahead and get the position. But once again, the Lamborghini isn't quite as quick as the Cadillac, so we'll see how this one plays out. Because I mean, there is. I'm just trying to think about this, like, on a strategy standpoint, because 50 minutes on the clock. These drivers are going to start pitting in soon. We're going to see just the energy levels remaining on these cars. So, yeah, I mean, actually, so it's probably going to be another 2 or 3 laps, I'd say, before we start seeing some pit stops cycle on through for the GT, or for the hypercars, I should say. The GT3 is honestly not too sure, because unfortunately we just don't have that kind of information on hand for the GT3s. But it is very well possible that we could see them pit in maybe around the same time. But once again, strategies are a very unique thing, just because they're so hard to really kind of predict. I mean, you have a generalistic idea, right? We were saying it was probably, after that first energy check, it was probably going to be around the 45-minute mark, as Alex Afonso goes and get ahead. He gets past Chris Kyle, and Johnny Luna also going to go ahead and get past Chris Kyle, but very nicely done. Didn't really lose any time there either, so that could have been so much worse, but in the end, it's all fine. It's all hunky-dory. And we are still racing here. Still got a pretty solid battle between the Lamborghini and the Cadillac. Two very strong machines, and now we might have a battle for the race lead just up ahead. Traffic is heavily playing a factor. The battle for the GT3 lead and the battle of the hypercar lead have met in the middle, as Charles Leclerc is going to go ahead and just kind of benefit from that gap created by the Cadillac. And just like the Cadillac is going to be benefiting from, oh, a bit of a snap there. That is the lapped car of Gregory Cazares there. Or Cazares. I promise you I'll get these names right eventually, so just be patient on that front. Names are a bit tricky sometimes, but Kakatsuraz there was kind of, I mean, that's another thing too, is you gotta deal with lots of hypercar traffic too occasionally, so jumping back now to Johnny Luna taking on Alex Alfonso yet again. There is a BMW in between them though, so the BMW might have played a factor. Once again, this BMW stuck in a hypercar sandwich. It's happened at least a few times this race where I'm pretty sure that exact BMW has been passed on both sides by a hypercar here at this track, so I mean, it's gonna go bad one of these times. I'm hoping it doesn't, but I'm kind of predicting it as my kind of de facto commentator's curse. They're gonna go ahead and get around Nico Perez as they make their way through. It's a bit tricky. I mean, dealing with traffic is so tricky for both classes, honestly, because hypercars, you gotta try to get around slower cars, and for slower cars, you gotta pick a good moment to let the faster cars go around without really blocking your own race. So it can be a bit of a tricky one sometimes. I mean, these battles are still going on. They're still fighting tooth and nail, trying to get any kind of position they can honestly muster. So, I mean, we have battles happening in quite a few spots on the grid. I mean, we have Charles Leclerc and Maxwell Emerland going at it, trying to fight it on out here as they make their way through the bus stop chicane. And they're going to go ahead and make their way through. We'll see if the Corvette is going to have a better run of things, as they're going to try to get closer and closer. And now they're making their way down to La Source. Are we going to see Maxwell going to get the move? He does not get it down. And the battle between the Ferrari and the Corvette is still going on. Maxwell Emerland, the Dutch driver, going ahead and trying to make positions here. Trying to jump the only car that started ahead of him in this race. I mean, these two have definitely been the class of this GT3 field, I will say. They've been probably the two cars that have been just kind of head and shoulders just about of everybody else. I mean, pretty much there's nobody else really near them in their class at the moment. So I mean, these two really could just fight each other and not really have anything to really worry about, honestly, except for hypercars coming through. Speaking of hypercars, there's a hypercar we haven't really shown any attention to really since qualifying, and that is the number 35 Alpine of Mario Paradiso. So Mario, the Italian driver, gonna try to go to get the power down in an Alpine. Go ahead and get past. So this is a very solid driver. Actually, it's the 36 Alpine, but still the sole Alpine on track at the moment, getting past the GT3 race leader. And he's going to go ahead and continue on. He's kind of in a race of his own, really, because he's about 17 seconds behind Rayfinger and P3. And then you have Johnny Luna, who's about 19 seconds behind. So, and honestly, there's not really anything for him to worry about. It's a bit further down the road. Alex Drury now in a battle with the South African driver of Bradley Kennedy. They're going to go ahead and make their way through. They're going to go ahead and get past Nico Perez once again. And I mean, honestly, the GT3 field has been pretty split. But now on board with this battle, they get super close. A bit of a snap on the straight from Alex Drury there as he's trying to chase out Bradley Kennedy in that Toyota. The main goal for Toyota today was really just to try to get past Glickenhaus, which at this stage they definitely will. But Glickenhaus is still going to get some points off of this because they are currently in 10th with Mason Olney currently in P3 at the moment. But we're going to stay on board with this battle. This is a very fun battle to watch. Toyota and a Porsche going in and giving it their all, leaving it all on the line here. With about 42.5 minutes left to go on the session. And we will see if we're going to see a strong battle here. I mean, I'm not sure which one of these actually really gets more grip. I know the whole gag is that Toyota is suffering because of how much kilograms of ballast they have applied to them after every single race, but I don't believe that is a factor here. I just think that the Toyota just hasn't really been performing this season, and it also, like, compared to some of the teams that would be considered their closer rivals for the grand scheme of things, like your Porsche, like your Cadillac, like your Ferrari. I mean, Cadillac, they're dominating the championship, right? Like, I mean, they got twice as many points and then some to the nearest hypercar team, right? But here's the thing. We're going to look at the hypercars. Look how many Cadillacs there are. There are 4 Cadillacs here, so, I mean, it does help that Ponset is leading this race by a very good margin. That does help. That Antoine Ponset has been scoring a ton of points, and he's on top of the driver's standings. But you also got to know that there is considerably more Cadillacs than anything else on the field at the moment, so I mean, this could be a really fun battle as we kind of watch from the rear wing of the Penske Porsche as they go in and make their way through. Actually, I think that's the Proton Porsche. So a bit of a correction there. I'll have to double check again, but I think that is one of the customer team Porsches going in and making its way through, trying to go in and fend off the hard charging Toyota GR of Alex Drury just behind. So it's, I mean, you can't even see the Toyota, and that's not because Bradley Kennedy is just not far ahead. It's because that there's just so much spray coming off of the back of these cars that it's almost impossible to kind of see the car behind. And if you're Alex Drury, then it's kind of hard to see the car ahead of you as they go in and getting through the GT3 traffic as they continue on. This is past my original estimate, but I think we're going to really start seeing some pit stops cycle on through here, so we will see. We're going to do a quick energy check here, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at this information real quick and just kind of analyze it a bit, just to kind of see. So, Ray Finger's into the pits, so that is the first car to go ahead and just call it on the pit stop. As Ray Finger does go to make the pit stop now. And actually the Mustang too of Daniel Paidat is also into the pits at this time. So it is a very long pit lane here, so here comes the Isilla Fraschini of Marcus Waltersdorfer jumping on through. And we'll see how the Ferrari does on this set of tires, because this could be a very interesting session, but he's got to get around this Mustang, but he can't because they're still on the pit line. It's a bad spot to be for the Ferrari, and now he's just gonna have to go ahead and just roar on past, and he needs to really turn on the afterburners if he's gonna catch this field here. So, just taking a look at this now, we're definitely going to see Ponset and Lenorand go ahead and come into the pits here soon. It looks like Lenorand just started bumping over that the curbs out of Rouge there, so that could be a bit of an interesting problem, but we'll just have to see how it goes here. So now this battle is getting pretty close between these two, as Ponset and Lenorand are going to just get closer and closer to each other now. We'll see how this really goes, because this could be a very interesting battle between these drivers here. So Lenorand and Ponset closing in on each other now. The gap is about 0.3 of a second. The Cadillac is gaining on some parts of the track. But here's the thing, they gotta win the pit stop battle because the pits are coming up here. Oh, it's a big slide for Jerome Leonard, and he spins it! The number 6 Porsche Penske spins it around. The 963 going a full 360. And that is that battle done and dusted for now. And that is unfortunate. If you're the Porsche, if you're the Cadillac, then that is very fortunate for you because now you got a 10-second buffer to the car behind. So you're in a really good spot now. As now we see the GT3 cars going and cycling through their pit stops as they go ahead and just make their way through the circuit and getting ready to get back out onto the track. Coming through the pits, making their pit stop cycles now, so it could be, I mean, we're going to definitely see the hypercars make their way through the pits as well. Here very, very shortly, Ponset and Landerman are going to probably pit in next lap, I would say, because, I mean, they're going to really cut it close on the pits, cutting it close on that fuel, so I'm actually, I mean, if I was Leonard Rand, I'd probably try to get my pit stop done early, trying to maybe, I mean, I know there's about a 10-second gap, but you really got to think about maybe wanting to try the undercut, because, I mean, your tires are not going to be in a good position to fight, so, but it's always tricky with this kind of racing, because there's a very good chance that you're going to just be like what happened to Rayfinger earlier on, and just kind of get stuck behind a GT3 car that you just cannot pass because you're in the pit line. And Spa does have a very long pit line. I think it is the longest out of any track that we race with here. So it is a long pit line, and you're just stuck for so long behind a GT3 car, and it's just not ideal in the slightest. I mean, it's really just not a good situation to really find yourself in. Yeah, you really got to feel for Leonard because he was doing a fantastic job on track, and then it just kind of fell apart there. So Gregory is into the pits. He well overshot his pit box there. So Gregory on the cusp, or on pretty much on the edge of the points at the moment. So, and One is going to get some pretty decent points, I would think. Waltersdorfer is into the pits now. India Silta Fraschini getting adjusted out into his pit box. And he's gonna go and get some new tires, get some fuel, and then here's the tricky part. He is stuck behind 2 GT3 cars. So he needs these GT3 cars to really just get out of the way first. And oh no, look at this. The Isotta Fraschini is stuck now behind the Ferrari. Ponset's into the pits. Kennedy's gonna come into the pits. And Leander Yecker is gonna come out. So we're seeing quite a few pit stops now from a lot of these drivers. So a good amount of these drivers going in, getting their pit stops now done and dusted so they can go ahead, and he's just going to go ahead and they're going to go ahead and all just give it a go. They're going to go ahead and just fire on all cylinders and just go ahead and try to make things work here. So I mean, you really got to feel for some of these drivers. But hey, the Alpine's in the lead now of Mario Paradiso. Granted, he's still got to make a pit stop, so he's probably not going to be in the lead for super long, I'd imagine. But he'll at least take solo study and led at least a good part of a race here. So some more positions changing as Amalam is now in the provisional lead of this race as they go ahead and get past here, getting past the lapped GT3 car of Ricardo Silva, and as the TF Sport Corvette in second place right now. But I will say that Nico Perez still has to pit in. He hasn't pitted in yet, so he's gonna probably make his pit stop now, and then I think that will transfer the lead of this to Maxwell. Oh, look at this! Maxwell putting the Assaulta into a spin, and that actually hurt him as well. That backed him up to Charles Leclerc in P3 at the moment, and now these two are going to be fighting for the provisional, for what is a net race win. I haven't seen crazier things outside of Le Mans Ultimate here. I mean, this is just multi-class racing at its finest. You got to deal with a few things, and it's a bit of a wiggle there for the Corvette. He closes that door, but in the end, I mean, Charles Leclerc is in a really good spot. They both have already done their pit stop, so I don't think they're going to be making another stop here in this race. So it's going to be really, really difficult to keep their position if you are Maxwell Ameline here. Closing the door though, so I mean, there's still a chance. Still a chance that things could happen here. I mean, it's tight between these GT3s. Hypercars aren't really in that kind of position at the moment. Paradiso pits. Or Paradiso pits. I believe it's Paradiso. I'll have to ask him actually after the race, but Paradiso is into the pits now. And then we actually have Rayfinger and Lenaran going ahead and getting ready to duke it out with Rayfinger going ahead and pitting earlier, so his tires are already kind of warmed up and he's already ready to go. And now we see the lead will be returned to Antoine Ponce now that everybody else is coming on into the pits. But this Ferrari is just, it's doing what it needs to do, and it's doing a pretty dang good job at it. I mean, Rayfinger was in a good spot to start off with, but he's got a good way to go if he wants to go ahead and try to recover and try to at least get up in the second. As the pit stops cycle on through, we're going to go ahead and do the last onboard lap of the race, and actually we're going to hop on board with this Ferrari. And we're going to ride on board with the Ferrari, and we're going to take a step away, go to get hydrated, and then come right back. We'll see you in a moment. So as we stepped away momentarily, we have seemed to lost, Rayfinger, as we just came back. Oh, he spun out, that's what happened. Alright, I had to double check because I did step away to hydrate for a bit. But yeah, so Lenorant, yeah, that was Rayfinger spinning out. And he was just kind of parked there for a bit, and then that was pretty much just it. Yeah, he's in the pits now, so he might actually be done. So we do apologize for that brief moment of kind of awkwardness, but here comes Bradley Kennedy coming back into the pits in that Proton competition Porsche. So that's going to drop him quite a ways down the order. But here's the thing, though. That promotes the Alpine into the podium spots here, as we're down to under 30 minutes to go here in the session. So this really has the potential to be a very good points result for Alpine. This could be an excellent chance to go ahead and get some really good points here. So once again, I mean, Alpine are pretty far down there in the Constructors' Championship. And actually, at this point, I think, I'll have to double check, and I'll have to probably do the math, but I think if they get this podium, I think that promotes them to just behind BMW, I think. Maybe even ahead of BMW. I'll have to double check that particular statistic, but I think that pretty much, I think that does actually promote Alpine to at least third, or no, not third, at least fifth. So yeah, promotes them to about fifth, I believe, in the Hypercar Constructor standing. So they will jump Ferrari, Lamborghini, Peugeot, and probably BMW, I would think. Because they're definitely outperforming Lamborghini right now. But not by much though, so maybe not Lamborghini. They might, I mean, they're definitely going to jump Ferrari, because Ferrari is pretty far down there. They have only one hypercar in like the second to last spot that could actually get points, and maybe even no points, potentially, if they're actually out of the race or not. So that could be, and as we see Gakatsura is just going over the curbs there, as Rayfinger is still in the pits. So I think that's actually, that might be David's race done and dusted. So I think that, yeah, I think Ferrari might just be done here in Hypercar. So that's gonna put Alpine in a really good spot here, as we got 24 minutes on the clock. There is still a good amount of racing left to go here. Anything can happen right now, as the Alpine is going to go ahead and get past the Iron Dames Porsche, and he's going to go to get it done, but it looked a bit dicey there for a little bit, so potentially could have been some drama happening there. But I mean, right now everybody is doing a pretty solid job here, as Bobby Situ is going to go in and make his way through. He's currently in the 13th in class, 24th overall. Hasn't really had the greatest of races here, as he goes ahead and cuts through Rouge in that number 77 Proton Competition Mustang. But yeah, some drivers just haven't really had a great race, but it is a tricky race to kind of deal with, because it is wet, and I mean, it's Spa and wet, so I mean, not really an easy combination, especially for some of these cars that don't do super well in the wet. As we kind of saw from the Glickenhaus of Mason Olney here earlier on. Looks like he's still trying to fight that Glickenhaus through the wet. But he is being a trooper in that boutique manufacturer. I mean, it does help his case a lot that we did lose Daniel Casemiro and Dario Osario. We lost those two early on, so that actually did promote only up some spots. I mean, that meant that pretty much as long as he finished the race, he does get points. But now he's on track for a P9 finish, which is going to at least going to do damage limitation against the Toyotas, but Toyota's 100% going to jump them in the point standings after this race, because it's just not, I mean, it's not a great time for Glickenhaus. Like I said earlier, this is really not a good track combination for Glickenhaus, because I know Glickenhaus has potential to do good around the circuit, but it is probably the worst hypercar to take into the rain, aside from maybe the Van Wall. The Van Wall might be slightly worse, but I'm pretty sure it is the Glickenhaus that is the worst hypercar to kind of take around this track. So, as Alex Drury is going to go ahead and get past Chris Kyle there in the McLaren. It's going to be a bit of a drag race, though, which the Toyota should easily win, considering it's a hypercar, but we have seen stranger things happen here at LSR. Bit of a snap there, going a bit deep into La Source there, just going right up to the curbing as he goes ahead and makes his way on through, but yeah, I think this race is pretty much just kind of it's at an interesting point, just because everything is pretty far spread out at this point, and I mean, no one's gonna likely make another pit stop unless they have some massive damage that they're gonna try to fix up. But I mean, yeah, so I think this race really is just kind of settling down here at the moment, as we're down to the final about 20 minutes of racing action here. So still a lot. There's still a good amount of racing to go. I mean, we're definitely in the final stages of the race, but once again, there's still a lot of racing still left to go here, as we're gonna go ahead and be periodically checking on different cars. Yeah, I think that's Rayfinger's race done, so I think Rayfinger is out of the points, so Ferrari's gonna score nothing here at Spa, a race where they definitely needed a return to form. They were just not getting it here, as unfortunate as it is. So, I mean, they're definitely one of the teams that definitely wish they were doing a bit better here. But, I mean, sometimes you just don't have a good race. That's just kind of how racing works. You don't really get, it's just reality. You're not going to win every single race. But the best thing for these drivers to do is just kind of learn from the mistakes and just take it on with them, because, I mean, it's going to be a really interesting race next week, because with the 45 minutes out of Bahrain, there is no traffic for them to really deal with. I mean, they may run into traffic at some point just because of the nature of the outer layer circuit of Bahrain, because it is probably one of the shortest tracks you could run. That's not like the school circuit for Sebring, which we actually did for the preseason race last season. I remember it was a pretty fun race to kind of commentate on, because it was the first time we ran hypercars and GT3s here at LSR, and trying to run those two cars on like a 1.6 mile long track is just rough. It was tricky, it was chaotic, but it wasn't a points race, so it was ultimately pretty fun. But now we have a battle for the GT3 lead here. It is Leander Yecker, who had a very torrid run of things in Le Mans. He didn't finish the race. I don't think he ever really truly got off the line. But the Lexus driver is now trying to make up for that by potentially, I mean, he's in a good shot of getting a podium here, I mean, undoubtedly, but he's got a chance to win this whole thing, so he's got a really, really good chance to win this entire event in the GT3 category. So the gap is there, but it's not a big one. Actually, it's hardly a gap at all. It's about half a second between these two. So Amerland and Yecker going ahead and duking it out. It is a Lexus versus Corvette. So now this is for in-class victory here. It is a Maxwell Amerland and Leander Yecker going ahead and just duking it out here as they go and whip around through the bus stop chicane. And he is going to make his run down into La Source. Is there going to be a shake for a move here? We'll see if the helicopter spots a shake for a move, and not at all. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to go in and squander the opportunity that is pretty much right ahead of him. And another thing too is you got to really try to figure out where those gaps are and then try to go for them versus just seeing what you may think is a gap and then just looking at the stamp and sending it, because that sometimes works. But I mean, as we were talking about earlier with the bus stop chicane thing, is that you can make an overtake in a bus stop chicane, but usually it's going to just end up in a switchback. You're just going to trade that position back anyway, so it's not ideal. It can work, but you are better off just kind of waiting for a better opportunity. And I think that's kind of the motif behind what we're seeing here from our GT3 class leaders. As the Lamborghini of Johnny Luna does go in and get on through, he will go ahead and just continue on his battle. He's kind of running his own race at this point, so he's just doing his thing. I mean, I think that's pretty much what the entirety of the hypercar field is doing. They're just running their own race and just trying to bring it home, honestly, because they can all get points here. All top 10 can bring home points in this race. It was top 11, but we only have 10 hypercars effectively left in this race, so we can see the gap is about half a second now, so it's not a massive gap, but there's still a gap there. He's got to try to close it on in if he wants to go in and win this one. There's a lot to play for here. I mean, these guys are giving it their all. They're fighting tooth and nail. I mean, this could get very, very dicey very, very quickly here, as Maxwell Amerland is going to go ahead and lose bit by bit over time. The Lexus is an old car, but you can certainly teach an old dog new tricks. And actually, not too far behind them is Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc has a chance. He's got a chance of winning this thing too. I mean, he started from pole position, just kind of dropped down quite a bit, but he's got a good shot here. We'll see. They're making a run down to La Source. And we'll see if there's going to be any kind of moves. Nope, really just too far away. There's just too much real estate in between these cars really trying to make a move. So, I mean, you got to really be super careful when you are going for these moves in this race here. Because, I mean, it's just one wrong move and your whole race is done, essentially. So, we do have another retiree. It is Jesse Verwork is out of the race, so that is our 5th retirement here. 24 cars still on track, and it looks like, I don't know if it was just a spray. I think it was just a spray, but it looked like the rain got even heavier as the racing has went on. We'll go ahead and run on board with Charles Leclerc here at the moment here, just momentarily. But I mean, it is. Oh yeah, that rain is looking very, very tricky to kind of navigate. He goes a bit wide into the corner. He's going to try to close that gap. I mean, look at this. I mean, you can just see how much he's got to kind of fight with the steering wheel on that 296 to go ahead and try to keep up. You can't even see the cars ahead. So, I mean, this is really just a battle of just who has more faith in the car ahead of them. Who's got the, I mean, there's a phrase that comes to mind, but basically, who's braver? Who's going to be the brave soul that is going to attempt to get a move done in these kind of conditions? Because you can barely see, I mean, he can actually see the Corvette quite nicely, but you can't even see a lot of cars ahead of you, and he has to fight with that steering wheel just to keep the car going in the right direction. So this can really just become this could end in the blink of an eye for these drivers, so they really got to just be careful to not make any kind of sudden movements, or else it could be race over for one of these hopeful winners. They're going to go ahead and make their way through the bus stop chicane. And then they're going to go ahead and give it a roll. Bit of a stop there from Charles Leclerc in the background. And now this pretty much just narrows it down to Yecker and Amerland, as Bradley Kennedy is going to interrupt this battle by getting his 963 in between the Lexus and the Corvette. The Lexus is going to pull aside and let the Corvette's going to move aside and let the Porsche on through, because this fight is not without Porsche. It is with the Lexus just directly behind him. So this has the makings of being a very dicey finish, like we saw Le Mans in the hypercar category. This time it's for the GT3s. Jumping up to Bradley Kennedy though, who is currently in P5, so he's in a pretty good spot, but he's got 26 seconds to Johnny Luna, so really there's not any kind of battling happening in this hypercar field at the moment. And honestly, there probably won't really be. I mean, the closest one in terms of a battle is Alex Afonso and Marcus Waltersdorfer. The rematch from Le Mans potentially happening all over again. I mean, this could be a fun battle to watch too, but here we go. Charles Leclerc is got a front row seat to Leander Yecker and Maxwell Amerland, trying to get these moves done and dusted, trying to go to get these positions, but it is going to be a tight one with just about 11 minutes to go now. "11 minutes to go, and this race is all but over." Actually, correction, I'm going to go ahead and rephrase that. It is far from over. These might be some of the longest 10 minutes of these drivers' lives right now going through the circuit. It has been a wet race. It has been a difficult race. But these drivers are nailing it right now through the circuit, through Spa-Francorchamps now, as they continue to really just pile it on here as we are entering the final 10 minutes of the session. This could go really good or really bad for somebody. We'll just have to see which one is which. Oh, but look at this! He goes deep! Yecker goes deep! He's going to take the position on track, but he's got to give it back. And that he does. He's going to go to punch into the line. He's going to give the position back, but he's going to make sure to cut off Charles Leclerc in the process. Charles Leclerc now going to have to try to go around the outside. He's going to try to pick a move, but Yecker's going to go ahead and get the inside line. Going into La Source. He's going to go to keep the position for now, but about 9.5 minutes to go. Can he keep it? That is the question at hand for these GT3s as they go through a Rouge. Making their way through Rouge, and these two cars are side by side, the Ferrari and Lexus, going toe to toe, wheel to wheel, fender to fender. This has the potential of being a very dramatic finish here between these GT3s. Maxwell Amerland has started to go in and pull away quite a bit, so we'll see if he can go ahead and continue that gap. I mean, with these two fighting, it is actually allowing Maxwell to start kind of building a good amount of that gap to Yecker and Leclerc behind. So it is going to be a dramatic race end for the GT3s. And actually, I think the gap between Waltersdorfer and Afonso did creep back up a bit. So once again, nothing, no real battles happening in the hypercars. We will still check on them though, as Mason Olney is going to still continue to go along. He's going to be in P9 at the moment. But we're going to turn our attention back again to this battle for the top three. It was Leclerc and Yecker. Now it's Yecker and Amerland going in and getting on through. This is going to be a tough one. They do have the race leader of Antoine Ponce kind of just in the way at the moment. Ponce needs to go ahead and get on through which he does. Side by side, the two GM cars touch. The two cars from General Motors touch. The respective race leaders, the GT3 and the Hypercar, touch yet again. And like I said earlier, this one is far from over. We also do have a battle for position in Hypercars as well. The first one in a while now, as Walterstorfer did make a mistake at some point, because now Alfonso is within a second of him. So this could be a very, very interesting race result as they make their way through, going through the bus stop chicane, and that's the number 11 around. That is Marcus Walterstorfer. Oh, how did he not collect the Ferrari alongside him? How did he not collect Adrian Gabinski in that moment? Because that was definitely a Code Brown moment. And while that battle wraps up, this one still goes on. As we see, there's some Hypercars in the midst of battle here. It is a Toyota currently trying to get through this pack. It's a Toyota in the Glickenhaus. They're not really fighting each other. They're just trying to get through this field. As Mason Olney is in 9th. Alex Drury is in P6 at the moment. So that is going to allow Toyota to jump ahead of the Glickenhaus here at this stage of the season, with only a few rounds left to go. However, it is going to be a really, really feisty end for the GT3s battling it out here. And look at this! Maxwell Amerlin goes wide! Amerlin goes wide! Leandro, he did not finish in Le Mans last week, and now he is in the lead of the race here at Spa. Not as many points on offer, but still a good amount of points nevertheless. As we see, Yecker's going to try. There's a Porsche stuck behind. It is Jerome Lineran getting stuck in behind the GT3 cars. He's got nowhere to go. His only hope is to try to get around the outside. But this is the tricky part. The two GT3 cars are fighting for the race lead in their class, and they have to let the Hypercar through at the same time. So it does happen without incident, but this could have had a lot of incidents as Lineran goes wide. Oh, and he taps the back of the Corvette. He taps the back of that Corvette. Amerlin now is trying to go ahead and fight it out as the Porsche just cuts his way through. And this battle is continuing on. 5 minutes on the clock. Less than that now, so they're going to get about 2 more laps in. And then it is race done and dusted here for round number 5. He's going to be deep on the brakes. You can't really overtake super well in the bus stop chicane, but you can certainly give the old college try. Bit of a snap of oversteer there from the Corvette. And at one point, it was looking like it was going to be an All-American top step, with the Corvette and the Cadillac being P1 and P2. But now that is in question at the moment, because Leandro Yucker is going to go ahead and build out that gap bit by bit here, as we are down to 4 minutes on the clock in this race here at Spa-Francorchamps. It's not over yet. There's still going to be something happening here for the GT3s. It could still be a battle of attrition. It could just take one mistake or one bit of contact. But also, someone who's not too far behind is Charles Leclerc. He is about 1 second behind, a little over a second. It's kind of ebbing and flowing now at this point, but you got to be really careful in these tricky conditions. I mean, we can see how wet it is here on track at the moment. I mean, I know we don't really have to explain how wet racing can be pretty dangerous, as we see a lot of curb usage there from Amerlin at the moment. But just behind, Leclerc is trying to put pressure now onto these two up front. But Yecker's, his gap is kind of diminishing bit by bit, as the winner from Le Mans goes in and cuts on through. But Emerlin now. Oh, and Emerlin spins it! Emerlin spins it! Maxwell Emerlin spins it out. He was pushing hard, but apparently a bit too hard. He spins it into the gravel. He's able to get back on track. He's still going to likely keep that podium spot. But I think the battle is done and dusted here, as we got 2 minutes to go on the clock, as Waltersdorfer just soars on past the GT3 race leader. And now we ride on board with the overall race leader here of Antoine Poncet. He's got 2 minutes on the clock now. He will be raring for this chance. He's the current championship leader. He did not take part in Le Mans, but he came back and immediately asserted his dominance in this hypercar field. He took pole position. He is now in the lead of this race by 20 seconds. And Sidhu does get a drive-through penalty for track limit violations. The Mustangs serving it now. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen more of that here in this race, to be honest, but that is pretty much any chance of points for him pretty much just done and dusted. So he'll be the only car still actively racing to not score points. As the Alpine gets squirrely and almost hits the back of the Mustang of Daniel Piedad. The lights are flashing. The Alpine is angry, but the Alpine is in a pretty good spot to get a podium here. The white flag will surely be out at this stage because it is the final minute of racing here. So we will get one more lap here of racing action, as this has been another chaotic 90 minutes of Spa-Francorchamps. We knew it would be chaotic when we saw the forecast. That it was going to be heavy rain all throughout. We will get one more lap of racing here in the hypercar category, as we go ahead and see Antoine Poncet pass for the final time here. He's going to go ahead and just come across the line now. The white flag is out. It is the final lap of the race here, as the timer continues to tick down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And the checkered flag is going to be out. Every driver is going to complete the last lap here. And then it is a race done and dusted. Actually, anyone who crosses the line after Antoine Poncet crosses that finish line, that is going to be the end of the race. Still a good amount of racing left to go, but it's still only about like a lap left. So still about 2.5 minutes of racing action here left to go in Spa-Francorchamps. And then we are going to go ahead and sunset the stream. I think we do have the F1 division racing shortly after this, so be sure to go ahead and drop a like and subscribe. Turn on post notifications to go ahead and just jump on in, get to watch some F1 action later on today. So if you love the action you saw here in Spa, you'll definitely like the action that you'll see in the GT3 field, or sorry, in the F1 field I should say. Not sure what track they're racing at, but I don't think a confirmation on that, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there, just to take a look at our race, our probable race winners here. It is Leandro Yecker winning in the GT3 class, at least provisionally. He hasn't officially crossed the line yet, so there's still a good amount of time left to really kind of sort this one out. But soon we're gonna have our race winner cross the line. There's a car off into the gravel. It is the Corvette of Francisco Chavez, but he's only got a handful of corners left to go now. He is coming across the line very, very soon to take another win and to extend that championship lead. Antoine Poncet is going to win the 90 minutes of Spa-Francorchamps here He takes another victory for Cadillac. He wins in Spa. A fantastic drive from him. And then the beautiful revenge story of Leandro Yecker. He goes ahead and he's getting ready to cross the line. He didn't finish the race in Le Mans. He really barely got a chance to actually compete at Le Mans. But now, after a hard-fought battle of attrition, of keeping the oldest car on the grid still on the track, he gave it everything he's got, and in the end, it is going to reward him with a ton of points and one of the most beautiful revenge stories you will ever see in motorsports. He's only got a handful of corners left to go now. The Lexus driver extending the lead for Lexus in the championship. In the beginning, we thought it was going to be Ferrari and the Corvette duking it out for the race win here, but it was neither one of them. From a DNF in France to a victory here in Belgium, Leandro Yecker wins the 90 minutes of Spa-Francorchamps in the GT3 category, and that is going to be a race done and dusted here for us at Lightning Speed Racing. What a performance from all of these drivers. It is done, dusted, and delivered. What a race that was. We had thrills, we had spills, and we had last moment drama to go ahead and just wrap things up here. So, as everybody is coming into the pits now, we have a few cars still finishing up here, but just a few more cars finishing up here, as it is a battle between Javi Mora and Bradley Kennedy, just to see who's going to come across the line next, but they're in different cars, so it's not going to matter too much. So that is going to be the end of the race, and a bit of a spin there from Javi Mora just there in the background. Good race to everybody. That was a fantastic watch, fantastic drive. Antoine Poncet, Leandro Yecker, they are your winners here today in Hypercar and GT3 respectively. So we're going to run through our finishing results here. It is Antoine Poncet, Jerome Lenorand, and Mario Paradiso going ahead and taking our podium in the Hypercar category, followed by Johnny Luna, Bradley Kennedy, Alex Drury, Alex Afonso, Marcus Waltersdorfer, and then Mason Ole, and then we have Gregory Cazares. And then in the GT3, it is Leandro Yecker, Charles Leclerc, Maxwell Amerland, Nemanja Rashkovic, Nico Perez, Javi Mora, Chris Kyle, Daniel Pydad, Adrian Gabinski, Francisco Chavez, Ricardo Silva, and then we have Bobby Sidhu, and then followed by our retirees from this race, David Rayfinger, Jesse Verwer, Ken Scott, Dario Orsario, Daniel Casemiro, Jack Powell, and Nicholas Saltivong. So that is going to go ahead and wrap things up here at the 90 minutes of Spa-Francorchamps here. Once again, my name is Patrick Coleman. I've been your host and commentator through today's race. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe, turn on post notifications. And we'll see you guys next week around the outer layout of Bahrain. Have a good night.